Hi guys, hello boys and girls, that's me, Robbie from EnglishHarmony.com, and welcome back to my video blog. Today we're going to touch upon a very interesting subject, and namely, why? Why is it that when we find ourselves with other non-native English speakers or so-called foreign English speakers, because I hate the term non-native, because it kind of implies that you don't have any nationality, which is wrong. We all have a national background. We're just foreign as opposed to native English speakers, right? So when we find ourselves with other foreign English speakers who speak English worse than we, and I don't really like the comparison worse because I don't like implying that other people speak bad, because it has some emotional connotation. Connotation means there's people start perceiving it emotionally, as if fluency or language skills can be something bad or good, but it's merely a skill set which has been developed to a bigger or lesser degree. That's all. So I would rather refer to those people not being able to speak as fluently as you, right? So when you find yourselves with such people, sometimes your fluency deteriorates. And it's a very strange thing. It kind of doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, if you speak at a certain level, and you're very comfortable speaking with native English speakers, why is it that sometimes when another foreigner joins the conversation, that all of a sudden you find yourself not being able to be as fluent as previously? And in a similar situation, when you just meet other foreign English speakers who don't have the same national background as you, and you have to speak with them in English, why is it that all of a sudden you can't speak the same as with native English speakers? And here's my take on it. Here's what I think, what's behind the scenes, right? What's going on in your brain. And it's not just your brain, it's mine too, because I'm only too aware of all these issues that are going on in pretty much any foreigner's head, any foreigners who struggles with fluency a little bit, because I've been struggling with fluency myself for years. Now I've overcome all these issues, and that's why I'm so knowledgeable. I don't want to be bragging about it, but that's a fact, you know. Anyway, I think that there's a multitude of reasons contributing into it. First of all, given the fact that we're so aware of all these fluency issues, you know, it means that we are quite emotionally predisposed to judge ourselves, to be constantly aware of how we feel, and conversely, we are only too well aware of how the other person feels. So we possess empathy, basically, at a high level. So whenever we meet someone else, and that person is not as eloquent, not as fluent as we kind of subconsciously, right, we try to put ourselves into that person's shoes. And even though it doesn't make any sense in practical life, and we mightn't be even aware of that, you know, we probably even don't know what's going on, because, well, I mean, we're not aware of it because we're taken aback by it. We're surprised why all of a sudden we can't speak the same as normally, right? I believe that it all happens subconsciously, deep down inside. We're trying to emulate that person's way of speaking in English. Maybe the true reason behind that is so that the other person doesn't feel bad about their fluency. Because if all of a sudden you start speaking just like native speaker, it might be too overwhelming for that other person. You might basically shatter their confidence. You know, they'll be looking up on you, and they'll be just taken aback by how good your English is, so you kind of try to lower yourself at their level. But by doing so, you know, this is one of the reasons, basically. You try to emulate their English at a subconscious level. You're not even aware of that, but it happens. And then there's this second factor, which is when you try to simplify your English, all of a sudden you become aware of your own speech, of your own conversation. So basically when you speak with a native English speaker and you give your fluency free reins and you just speak without much thinking, without analyzing what's going on in your head, you just speak, right, spontaneously, you improvise, you just let the words come out of your mouth, and that's fluent speech, right? But when you try to speak in a simplified manner, you're trying to consciously think of what exactly you're going to say. And the moment you do that, fluency goes out the window. It's funny because it should be actually much simpler for anybody to speak using simpler words, but it's not the case. Once you're used to saying certain things a certain way, let's say for argument's sake, the word certain or particular, I wouldn't even know how to explain that concept. Well, I would have to give it a deep thought, and then I would eventually figure it out, right? But if I were to speak with someone who doesn't know English words such as certain and particular, and I can actually remember myself back in the day when I didn't know these words, right? If somebody would tell me a sentence containing that word, I wouldn't be quite sure what he meant by that. So to lower myself at that level, I would have to replace those words, certain in particular, with some simpler words. And it all takes time. So basically you start thinking about how to say a particular thing, in what words to put it. And then you basically start stuttering and hesitating yourself, and your English deteriorates big time. So that's the second factor. And the third factor, I think, it's not necessarily so, but I've caught myself on many occasions doing this, right? And it is, you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to show off, basically. You speak with someone whose English is worse than yours, and then you kind of know that when you speak with a native English speaker, your English is very good, and you're trying to maintain the same standard when speaking with that person, with the foreigner who can't speak as well as you, right? And you're trying to show them that your English skill is indeed superior than theirs, right? So it's kind of quite the opposite to the first reason. The first reason is that deep down inside you're trying to speak as bad. I hate the word bad because it's because of the emotional connotations and all, right? But just to make it simpler to understand, right? You're trying to speak as bad as the other person, and that's why your English deteriorates. But this third factor is you might be trying to maintain the high standard of your speech, just to show the other foreigner how good your English is. And please bear in mind, it doesn't necessarily happen at a conscious level either. You mightn't be even aware of it. Again, it's all your subconscious mind, right? So your goal as a foreign English speaker is to be aware of all these issues, be aware of what might be going on deep down inside, and counteract all that. So, these were the three factors. First of all, at a subconscious level, you're trying to bring your fluency level down to match that of the other person. Second factor, you're trying to explain things in a simpler way so that the other person understands you, but as a result your fluency deteriorates because all of a sudden you become too conscious of your own speech, and you just start stuttering and hesitating. And the third reason is you're trying to show off, you're trying to maintain the high standard, and as a result you start making mistakes. Again, you become too aware of your own speech, and basically that other person makes you nervous. And it's not necessarily their fault. Obviously, it's not their fault at all. It's all happening inside of you. But just because you're trying to show off, all of a sudden it backfires on you, and you actually start speaking worse. So, how to overcome these issues? Obviously, once you are aware of these factors, it becomes much simpler. So, don't try to show off. just imagine that foreign English speaker is just another native English speaker. Basically, imagine that you're speaking with the same person you spoke previously with. Or imagine some native English speaking friend that you normally communicate with, and just put that person in your mind's eye and imagine you're speaking with him. Replace the foreigner whose English is not as good as yours, replace that person with the native speaker, and imagine you're speaking with him, and that should help you to eliminate these issues. And also, try not to take pity of that person, because sometimes, especially in the case where you're trying to lower your own English, your level of fluency, right? It happens subconsciously, right? But it might happen for a reason that you kind of feel for that person, that he doesn't speak as fluently as you do, right? So don't try to pity that person. There's no reason for it. He or she doesn't speak as good as you, but hey, there are a lot of people who don't speak as good as you or me, and on the other hand, there's loads of people who speak much better than us. You know what I mean? So there's no reason for you to all of a sudden feel bad about you having achieved something in terms of your fluency. Your fluency is what it is. Speak the way you normally do, and don't feel for that person. Let them take the responsibility. If they don't understand something, it's up to them to ask you to repeat things, or ask to say it again, or explain in other words. Obviously, if you see that that person doesn't quite clearly get what you're saying, say it once more, and say it in a simpler manner, and don't probably speak as fast as you would with a native speaker, even though this approach bears seeds of your fluency destruction, so to speak, again, because the moment you kind of slow down and speak with that person differently from the way you speak with a native speaker, again, it might backfire on you, but surely you have to help that other person understand you too. So you kind of have to find a middle ground, right, between speaking in a too simplistic manner and speaking just as fast, say for instance, as if you speak with your native English speaking friends, right? So you have to find a middle ground and let that foreigner whose English is not as developed as yours take some responsibility for their own English, and it's up to them to improve and to learn more so that they can be on par with you, right? So these are the 3 reasons why I think many of us struggle to maintain our fluency when we speak with other foreigners whose English is not as good as ours. And probably there's a few more factors that I couldn't think of right now, but as you know, my friends, when I record these videos, I improvise and I don't prepare for them, and there's good reason for it, because I believe that improvisation is probably the biggest asset that we have. Obviously, planning also goes a long way towards our ability to communicate, especially when we prepare for important conversations, but ability to improvise and speak without much thinking is what we have to aim for. So that's why I didn't plan really for this video. I was just saying out loud whatever I could think of after reading the comment whose author expressed these concerns, why he's unable to speak just as good with another foreigner as with a native English speaker, right? Okay, thanks for watching this video, my friends, and if you've had similar experiences, or if you think that there's more factors, which there probably are, right, contributing into this phenomenon, please post them in the comment section below, and see you soon again, my friends. Bye-bye.